First of all, I should say a few things about the idea of retrospective. It was Gunther's idea because although I've had shows here in Victoria, I haven't shown since about 1975, which is more than 35 years. And he wanted to give people what's kind of an idea that I had, what I was doing since I was last shown here. And so that's the reason for the idea of the retrospective. There are some problems with the retrospective, and that is that there are gaps as things either get sold or museums buy them or this or that. But what I've chosen mostly here, I have good examples of, and that is they are all vaguely, and sometimes definitely, related to architecture, but architecture, specifically cemetery architecture, and more specifically French cemetery architecture. And I have been taking photos of various, mostly small town cemeteries, but including Père Lachaise in Paris, since the mid-60s. I have about 800 slides, 2¼ slides of various things in the cemetery, tombs, but wreaths and trees, and the way trees intertwine with the wrought iron, and I've been using that as a initial starting point for up until about maybe 10 years ago, because the French, I don't know what it is, the French have this strange way of looking at things and making, not exactly making light, but doing things in a different way. And the idea, a critic once said to me, I said, well, I'm a landscape painter, sort of, and they said, well, not really, because of these drawings of the cemeteries and because of the boxes. They said, you're a bit of an architect, because the boxes are boxes, and all of the cemetery stuff that you see here have symptoms of man-made control on them, perspective and box enclosures and that kind of thing. And so I guess by happenstance, that's the way this particular exhibition has played out. The only thing, well, I should say the only thing lacking, I do, and I have continued to do, fairly large oils, 30 by 40 inches. And of course, there are nothing in this show of those. Most of the ones that are 15 or 20 years old have been sold and are in either private or public collections. So they are lacking. And the other thing that might seem strange is that there's none of my actual drawings here. Everything that's on paper has started probably as a drawing, without color a lot of times, but ended up as a full-scale either watercolor or collage or something like that. Whereas for the past 50 years, I have been doing drawings straight from the object, whether it's a tree or a landscape of some kind or other, or even occasionally persons. But these they're done to experiment, to give me a chance to look at a subject and an object in terms of its planes and the textures and that sort of thing, without changing it too much. a lot of the times they can be, what I like to do is leave parts out or even draw a part. I've always been very fond of Chinese and Japanese, but I think Chinese ancient paintings with hills and that sort of thing. And there are a lot of stuff left out as you go back in space. And although the drawings don't look a Chinese influence, the idea of leaving a lot of space, a lot of white paper, is often part of the reason. So I don't, let me put it this way, I'm not a slavish drawer. I don't draw everything I see in front of me. Or occasionally I do, and it's very boring, so I tear it out. So, although there's a lot of drawing that goes on in these works, I see them primarily as what you might say watercolors, or certainly with the boxes as, well, I see the boxes as colored paintings. Now, this may seem strange, but I have never made a box that I hadn't intended to color. And I was trained as a painter, and I painted for roughly 1958 up until 1965, just paintings. But at that time, I decided that the paintings that I was doing didn't have the presence of a lot of other pieces of art, or even pieces that weren't art. For example, there's a stuffed scarecrow in Spain that I'd pass going back and forth to the little house we were renting, and it had far more presence than a work of art. It was there, it was almost alive. So the boxes started around 65. They started to open in 1967. And I'd have to say that I'm not through with them yet. There's still more to do with them, because unlike all of the watercolors, well, anything else in this show or any show, they can change their shape. They can change their color if the doors are open or closed. They can change their gesture, whether they're closed or open, and thereby they can change the kind of aesthetic appeal that you get from them. And it has, and the other thing they can do, and that is they can imitate stones, walls, textures of walls, that sort of thing, which you can do that in a painting, but you can't do it so that you can change the position of a certain texture. When a texture is on a door, when you open the door, the texture goes around to the other side. And there's all kinds of things that make it more fun, yet more difficult to do than a flat painting. Now, what more can I say? Okay, one thing I'd like to mention about the opening boxes is that they were always intended to be open and to be left in some interesting open position. Now, this has gotten me in great trouble with every gallery that they've ever been in. Even today, I didn't see anybody opening them. I had to open it for some people. And oftentimes, the first show I ever had of the boxes, I come in the next morning and they were all closed. And I said to the dealer, I said, what happened? Why'd you close them up? He said, I didn't close them, the people closed them. Because people don't like to leave their drawers open or their cupboard drawers or whatever. So I have had the problem because, in fairness to the galleries, they don't like you to touch anything. But I have tried with some success in the National Gallery in Ottawa. The then director gave me the idea of putting beside the title, putting a little label that said, "Please handle gently," which meant that you could handle it. And you'll also notice that all of the boxes here have knobs on them, so that in fact you can use the knobs.